It's 6 p.m. here in Korea. Welcome to our newscast. I'm Daniel Che. Let us begin with the headlines. North Korea fires off 2 more ballistic missiles despite the international sanctions on the regime, and for the first time, one of the projectiles lands near waters controlled by Japan. Virtual reality experiences encompassing historical, K-pop, and zombie themes. These are just a few of the long-term development plans for Korea's VR sector, with the government set to inject more than $7 million by the year's end. But only 3 days before the games kickoff, Rio is seeing a handful of problems, including strong protests from locals and a growing rift between the IOC and the world's main anti-doping body. North Korea stokes further tension by once again firing off missiles into the East Sea just weeks after the regime lobbed 3 missiles, 2 Nodong class and 1 Scud into the same general area. This also marks the first time a projectile by the regime landed in the exclusive economic zone of the South's closest neighbor. Kim Hyun-bin has our top story.
South Korea's Joint Chiefs of Staff announced on Wednesday that North Korea fired 2 ballistic missiles from Hwanghae-namdo province in the southwestern part of the country at 7:50 a.m. South Korea time. Both missiles are presumed to be mid-range Nodong missiles. The U.S. Strategic Command said one of the missiles exploded soon after the launch. South Korean military sources say the other one flew about 1,000 kilometers and landed in Japan's exclusive economic zone.
The missile launch is a clear violation of UN Security Council resolutions, especially as the launch was of a ballistic missile that could be tipped with a nuclear warhead and could target South Korea and even neighboring countries.
This latest launch is being seen as an armed protest against the upcoming deployment to South Korea of the U.S. missile defense system THAAD. South Korea's defense ministry is on high alert for more missile launches.
Many experts believe North Korea will continue to launch ballistic missiles in the coming days, as a large-scale South Korea-U.S. war game dubbed Urgent Freedom Guardian is scheduled for the middle of the month. Kim Hyun-bin, Arirang News.
UN member nations have been submitting their reports on how they are implementing sanctions on the reclusive state. Pressure on Pyongyang seems apparent, especially with Ulaanbaatar canceling North Korean ships operating under the Mongolian flag. Connie Kim has the latest in global efforts to rein in the communist regime.
Mongolia, historically close to North Korea, has canceled the registration of North Korean ships to operate under the Mongolian flag, the first such case by an individual country since the strongest set of UN sanctions against Pyongyang was announced in March. The U.S.-based Voice of America reported Wednesday Mongolia's implementation report to the UN Sanction Committee for North Korea said Ulaanbaatar revoked the registration and terminated contracts of 14 North Korean ships under flag of convenience. VOA has confirmed there was no North Korean vessel operating with a Mongolian flag since Ulaanbaatar submitted the implementation report. Mongolia had allowed more than 400 foreign ships, including North Korean vessels, to operate under the Mongolian flag until UN Resolution 2270 was adopted. The resolution blacklisted 27 ships from the North Korean shipping company Ocean Maritime Management. With UN member states asked to submit their own implementation of sanctions reports, VOA highlighted that 41 countries have outlined their action plans to the UN so far, including those who are considered to have amicable ties with North Korea, such as Uganda, South Africa, and Vietnam. A South Korean Foreign Affairs Ministry official says that the active participation of UN member nations to implement sanctions on North Korea shows that the international community is aware of and willing to tackle the regime's nuclear ambitions, adding that the recent state and official visits by Seoul to North Korea's traditional allies have contributed to bringing such results. Connie Kim, Arirang News.
In the domestic political arena, the 3 main opposition parties agreed to push for a common political agenda that includes prosecution reform and the THAAD deployment. But the process was anything but smooth. According to our Park Ji-won, though this National Assembly started strong with a sense of unity, that spirit of togetherness seems to be melting away.
In a meeting Wednesday morning, the leaders of the 3 main opposition parties, Oh Sang-ho for the Minju Party of Korea, People's Party interim leader Park Ji-won, and Justice Party's floor leader No Hae-chan, vowed to work together a common political agenda after voicing criticism of the current administration's unilateral governing style. They noted that both the ruling party and the government have largely rejected the opposition bloc's proposals since the general election in April that stripped the ruling party of its parliamentary majority.
We've gathered here to urge the government and the ruling party to make concessions on the agenda that the opposition parties were promoting and to reflect a parliament in which the opposition parties are the majority.
Without a sincere change from the ruling party, we now need to clearly show that the ruling party alone isn't capable of moving this country forward, not even 1 centimeter.
The three political leaders agreed to seek formation of special committees on 2 issues that have brought about tremendous controversy in Korea: reforming the prosecution and the deployment of the THAAD missile defense system. They also agreed to push to hold parliamentary hearings on the government's corporate restructuring drive, targeting the ailing shipbuilding industry before giving the green light to the government's proposed budget supplement. They will also seek a hearing on the government's use of water cannons at a demonstration last November, which knocked down a farmer who is still in a coma. In response, the ruling Saenuri party accused the opposition bloc of using their numerical superiority to pressure the ruling party and said this is not the kind of cooperative politics that the public wants. Meanwhile, the ruling party is in the middle of a leadership race that's heating up as 5 candidates vie for the party's top post through a series of campaign speeches and debates. The election will take place at the party's national convention on Tuesday. Park Ji-won, Arirang News.
Moving on to other stories, President Park Geun-hye's diplomacy efforts continue. Next month's destination, Russia. She will deliver the keynote speech at the Eastern Economic Forum's plenary session on September 3rd. The event, hosted by Russian government, is aimed at attracting investment and developing the Far East under this year's slogan of opening up the Russian Far East. During her 2-day working visit to Vladivostok, President Park will also sit down with her Russian counterpart Vladimir Putin to discuss ways to expand practical cooperation on various fronts. Their talks will also touch on regional and global issues, including North Korea's nuclear ambition. South Korea's key industries are not expected to do so well in the second half due to low oil prices and a slowdown in the global economy. The lingering threats have prompted some analysts to call for the swift passage of a multi-billion-dollar budget supplement. Here's a closer look at the projections by our Kim Min-ji.
Korea's core industries are expected to lose steam in the second half of this year. According to the Korea Development Bank, the prospects for most industries are gloomy, with the majority expected to post negative growth. The sectors most vulnerable are those subject to the government's corporate restructuring drive, namely the shipbuilding and shipping industries. Amid an industry-wide slump, the volume of orders for the shipbuilding sector is expected to plunge 92% this year from a year ago. As a result, the order backlog is expected to fall over 33%, while ship exports are projected to dip nearly 17%. The outlook for the construction industry isn't much better, especially because the number of overseas orders has dropped in the wake of the prolonged slump in global oil prices. The display sector could also be facing an uphill battle as companies step up their overseas production, pushing panel prices down. On the other hand, the semiconductor and mobile phone sectors both got a fair rating on the back of scheduled releases of new tech products. As for the potential risks in the second half, analysts point to low oil prices, which show no signs of picking up. Korea's benchmark Dubai crude has been hovering at around the $40 level since the spring. While that's good news for some industries, it hurts the economies of oil exporting nations, which in turn takes a toll on Korea's exports to those countries, in addition to putting a dent in demand for offshore plants and ships, acting as a drag on the entire economy. On top of that, a possible rate hike in the U.S. could also trigger a massive capital outflow from the Korean market. Analysts say that for Korea to better weather the risks, there needs to be a swift implementation of the government's proposed $10 billion budget supplement, which is currently pending at the National Assembly. It's aimed at softening the impact of the corporate restructuring drive and boosting job creation, but analysts say a delay could muffle the desired effects. Kim Min-ji, Arirang News.
Staying in South Korea, the government has announced a list of consortia that will be in charge of developing virtual reality content. The goal is to make VR content more accessible to the general public and help devise ways to create a profit-oriented business model in the VR business. Kim Ji-yeon updates us on the response to criticisms that there's too much in VR hardware than contents.
The Ministry of Science, ICT and Future Planning has announced 5 company-led consortia on Wednesday that will lead the creation of virtual reality content at state-run facilities nationwide. Together, the selected companies will receive a combined $7.2 million in state funding by the end of the year. One of the consortiums is led by Korea-based VR content provider District. It will produce the content featured at VR centers in the tourist areas of Gwanghwamun Plaza in Seoul and the southernmost island of Jeju. With their ideas, visitors will be able to take virtual tours of Seoul's ancient palaces and Jeju Island's most scenic views through VR simulators and augmented reality galleries captured by 360-degree cameras. Another consortia, led by leading telecommunications operator KT, will be in charge of allowing users to take virtual tours of sites with some of their favorite K-pop stars. And in the gaming and entertainment sector, local startups including 3D Factory and UT Plus Interactive will be developing 3-dimensional first-person shooting and racing games at their flagship stores around the country. The ministry is eventually hoping to find a sustainable profit model for the long-term development of VR content in Korea. For starters, it's benchmarking the 14,000 square meter VR theme park and zombie survival experience Zero Latency in Australia and the VR maze The Void in the U.S. state of Utah. Kim Ji-yeon, Arirang News.
Samsung Electronics introduces the Galaxy Note 7 in New York, featuring iris scanners for easy and secure logins. Expectations are high the device will help maintain the company's momentum in premium smartphone sales. Park Jong-hong takes us to its unveiling in New York before it hits shelves around the world later this month.
Samsung believes its latest smart device will set a new bar in the ever-competitive industry. In New York Tuesday, Samsung Electronics unveiled its Galaxy Note 7 phablet, which is short for phone plus tablet. The head of Samsung's mobile division says the Note 7 is the market's most intelligent smartphone.
Privacy and security is a growing concern. So, we are introducing iris scanning to protect your information.
Samsung says iris scanning allows the user to unlock their phone and even engage in mobile banking without the hassle of user verification just by looking into their phone for 1 second.
Iris scanner has a future thing in the movies, but now you can do it, and I think that is amazing.
The fingerprint now, I use it all the time, but the enhanced security is always great to have.
A couple of other key features are a foreign language translating function and enhanced water resistance. Users will be able to use the Note 7 underwater for up to half an hour, and the stylus, which has become synonymous with the Galaxy Note series, is also water resistant and dust resistant as well. The launch of the Note 7 comes ahead of the latest iPhone launch expected in autumn, and just days after Samsung Electronics posted its biggest quarterly profits in more than 2 years, retaining its title as the world's largest phone maker. Park Jong-hong, Arirang News.
3 days to go before the 2016 Summer Games to Brazil kicks off. There has been a number of issues surrounding the nation even before the Games open, and as expected, the road to Rio is becoming a very bumpy one. Lee Min-young reports.
We are just 3 days ahead of the opening ceremony of the Rio Olympics, and it seems like it will be a bumpy start. The Olympic torch relay was disrupted by a series of demonstrations, forcing the relay to change route and as a result delaying the whole process. The Olympic torch was due to arrive in Rio de Janeiro later on Tuesday local time. Local media outlets reported that some 200 masked protesters clashed with riot police, who fired tear gas at the crowd. At least 2 people were arrested on the spot. Rio residents have been voicing their opposition towards public spending on the Summer Games, while workers are reportedly not being properly paid. Another issue is the Russian doping scandal. The International Olympic Committee and the World Anti-Doping Agency clashed again Tuesday, local time, over suspicions of state-sponsored doping in Russia. IOC chief Thomas Bach bashed the agency, rejecting its decision of ordering a complete ban on Russian athletes over doping accusations. He also called for a more transparent and responsible anti-doping system. Amid these obstacles, delegations from participating countries, including Korea, have been arriving in Rio. The Korean team attended a welcome ceremony before entering the athletes' village on Tuesday local time. The ceremony was attended by some 50 members of the Korean delegation. Korea will be represented by over 200 athletes in a total of 28 disciplines. Lee Min-young, Arirang News.
That's our newscast for this hour. More updates coming your way at 10 p.m. Korea time. Thanks for watching.